know your value when it comes to pricing. People in general tend to undervalue themselves. When I get into brand deals and people are asking about money, sometimes there's a room. It's not a cut and dry, here's what I'm going to charge, period, end of conversation. Sometimes it is a back and forth. Sometimes there is a conversation around it.
Welcome to the RV Queens podcast, where adventure meets the open road. I'm your host, Charlie Grace, rolling through life 1 mile at a time, sharing stories, interviews, tips, and real talk about RV living, travel, and the freedom to chase your own version of home. Whether you're a full-time RVer, a weekend warrior, or just RV curious, you're in the right place. So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and let's hit the road together.
Okay, all right. Moving on to another question. Here we go. Okay. How important is having a clear brand identity or story when going through these things? Because I've seen people go, and I'll give a good example. I started in RV. I started Class Cs, moved to van life. Now I'm over here doing overlanding. Oh, that sounds like she's all over the board. How is it to, give a simple story or a simple pitch?
I'm going to say be you. I think that type of, you have to have a niche. You have to niche down. You have to know what your niche is. You have to understand what you're doing. We're human beings with ever-changing, flowing, lives. So I was in a Class A RV towing a Jeep. When my husband got ill, we got off the road, and now I have to decide, well, that's not me anymore. I'm not in that Class A anymore. I'm not the same person basically I was. No, I had to say, okay, now what? And right now I am living in a house. I don't know. And it's cold. So it is cold. I questioned that myself in how could I still be part of the RV world? Can I? Am I still going to be able to provide value? Will people still want to listen? All of those things absolutely went through my head. But that's life, changing from one thing to another and just staying true to yourself. That's the most important thing. Be you, be who you are. Yes, you could be in a van, decide to move in a Class A. I could be in a Class A, being in a house right now, and just find ways to make that work. I'm still part of the RV community. I go to events. I'm in the campgrounds. I've really loved being in a campground and going into a yurt and a cabin. I'm looking forward to a tiny home this spring. It's just a whole different world that I truly love. And that's the big thing. Do what you love. I think people chase what they think other people want. I've done it myself. And no, do what I love, me transitioning. So when Dan got ill, I started doing the podcast myself. We were doing it together, and I kept it going and did it myself and wondered, will people still listen? He brought, a part of it that was very different. And when I started doing it myself, did I lose some listeners? Yeah, I probably did. But did I gain others? Yes, probably. And that's okay. I think that people making changes, deciding what they want to do, going with, it's never wrong to do what you love.
I love that. That's perfect. It's never wrong to do what you love. All right, let's go on to, this is the most important part. Money, 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 money. Everyone wants to know about money, 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 money. They want to know about negotiating. They want to know about getting things. They want to know, how are you getting paid? What are you doing? So this is where it gets a little scary, where the rubber meets the road of like, okay, all right, I'm credible. I have a relationship with different things. Now what? I remember very specifically going to an event one time and talking to a person going, how do you get this stuff? And she's like, oh, well, they just come to me. Oh, they just email me. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, guess what this year? Guess what? They just come to me and they just email me. It's a different situation. It's taken some time, but how do you decide what to charge? Big statement. Ooh, I know. Hot topic. We're not talking specific numbers, but how do you decide what to charge for a deal? And let's talk about deliverables a little bit. What does that look like?
Okay, so first of all, I love money, as we all do. And again, being honest, there have been times where things were rough, to say the least. So I say that because I want to let people know. people have perceptions of us. People think, oh, you have this, I see that. It looks like, you have money. People tend to have those thoughts and opinions. So I like to be honest that no, there were times that it was really rough. I had a mentor many years ago. I was on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, and he and I took a drive to Wawa. Yes, that is a place on the East Coast. It's like the nicest Sheets, uh, 7-Eleven you've ever been in, even nicer, can't even compare. Anyway, so we go and we come back and from getting coffee, and I said something about money. At that point, things were really not going well, and he said, "You just have to let go of the money and the stress around money, just let go." And I literally whatever the words were that he said, I wanted to push him out of the car while we were still moving because it was like, how do you let go of it when you're worried about paying the mortgage or bills or whatever? How do you do that? And I love to tell this story because that idea of being able to let go of the money is such a big, huge changing. It's an attitude. It doesn't happen overnight. It is not easy. I've had mentors. I've done a lot of reading. There's a lot around it. I could do a whole training on it. But when you go into a brand deal with somebody or whatever you're trying to do, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I've got to pay the bills. I've got to pay for the diesel to get the RV from point A to point B. That's what you are putting out. You are desperate, and that's what you're putting out. And in most cases, that's not going to work. So being able to that not be a focus. When you go into a brand deal, letting go of the outcome, letting go of, well, if they say yes, then I'll make this much money and that'll help me with. You've got to be able to let go of all that. And again, it takes practice, it takes training. It's all about mindset, is what it comes down to. I like to use the word mind flow because mindset means your mind is set and you've got to unset it and reset it. Uh, it's a big thing. So going into brand deals without I'm detached from the outcome is the way I'd like to say it. I'm going in, I'm meeting somebody, I'm talking to the president of a company the same way I'm talking to the person I meet in the RV park. There is no difference. There's no agenda. At the end of the day, are there brands that I want to work with? Yes. And that's okay to be clear about that.
Mhm.
How do you get to that point where you make those deals and how do you price them? I think that trying to put a price on something is one of the most difficult things to do. There's no easy answer. One of the things that happened from my experience, so when we started out with the RV Life podcast and we had sponsors and we were trying to figure out what we charge. Somehow or another, we came up with some number because if you Google what people charge to be a host of a podcast, it is anywhere from 0 to Joe Rogan level. Let's just call that a money level. It's all over the place. So we picked a number, and then every year we increased that number. And I remember in the last year, we had increased it because not only did I have enough sponsors for the podcast, but I had people wanting to sponsor. So, you know, supply and demand. So I remember raising the rate, talking to one of my advertisers that had been with me for years. And I said, this is what I'm raising it to. And he said, he was a money guy. And he said, that's a 40% increase. And I went, oh, crap, honestly, because I didn't think about the percentage increase. I was like, part of me, and again, honestly, part of me was like, "Oh, crap, maybe I shouldn't." In my quick thinking, this was a phone call with him. My quick thinking, I was like, "Maybe I shouldn't have raised it that much. What am I thinking? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'm not worthy of that." All this stuff went through my head. And luckily, it kicked in where I went, "Yes, and this is why. And this is what I'm going to do for you." Not desperate. If he decided to leave, he left. And he's like, okay, fine. Sign me up for the year. Now, does it always happen that way? Does it always happen that easily? No, it took me years and years to get to that point. I developed a relationship with this person. And here's the thing, when it comes to a podcast, there's no ROI.
No.
It is, and I want to make that clear, it is brand awareness. I could tell you, people would say, well, how many numbers? And I would, and this is a good thing for people to know, because when people are asking about your numbers, if you have a YouTube channel, social media, you have numbers you could give them. I would take a step back and educate people, because I would say, listen, I know you're asking for numbers, like on a YouTube channel, you could see subscribers, all these different numbers. Podcasts don't work that way. This is how it works. So I would educate them before I answered the question. I was able to say I'm in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide, then the top 5%. When I increased it, I said, listen, I'm in the top 3% of all podcasts worldwide. That was a number they could understand. If I told them my download numbers, it didn't matter. So I'm answering this in a roundabout way. Know your value when it comes to pricing. People in general tend to undervalue themselves. When I get into brand deals and people are asking about money, sometimes there's a room. It's not a cut and dry, here's what I'm going to charge, period, end of conversation. Sometimes it is a back and forth. Sometimes there is a conversation around it. Sometimes there's with the podcast, I was able to do exclusive episodes where I talked to a major company that most people know. And I said, okay, here's what we can do. And it was a discussion around, if I just do a podcast virtually, this is what it would be. I could do a podcast at one of your campgrounds, and here's what it would be. I could and so it was almost like an a la carte. They were able to decide. And I thought, all right, they're just going to maybe do the virtual podcast, on a Zoom call. And they ended up sending me to the location and doing the whole 9 yards. So it left it open for here's what I could do. And then they could decide what worked for them, what fit their budget.
I would say, here are three things, three tiers, three, whatever you want to call it. And nine times out of 10, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. How can we combine, how can we make it be a win-win? That's really important. But you nailed it on the head when you say we undervalue ourselves. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy on this, because we go in thinking, oh, well, they're not going to really, I'm not worth that. Or what would make it, worth their while? And I don't have anything. You'd be surprised. So I think that I'm not saying you're going to shoot for the moon either on some of this stuff, but you do need to, talk to peers. This is one thing we really need to do a better job of as content creators and other things is, find out, what are your peers asking? What is their relationship with different brands? Have they had a good experience or a bad experience? Maybe that bad experience, maybe that staff on that particular company no longer exists. Maybe they've changed, and that can happen too. So sometimes, you might hear something about, well, I worked with X brand and boy, that was bad. Well, they completely gutted their marketing team and now it's a new team, new who knows what. So try to keep an open mind on those things. And once again, we're tiptoeing, we're creating relationships, and we're seeing how it goes out. That's a big deal.
And I want to add something to that. I think I've seen from my experience over the last couple of years, some of the big major brands. I'm going to use Freightliner as an example. I had a relationship with them. I had a relationship with the president of the company back. He's since retired. Had a relationship with the people who work within the company. Now, a couple points here. This took years till something came of it. Had a conversation with somebody. They were really excited about the ideas. They had a new marketing team come in. I think it was them. They had a new marketing team come in. And now it was a whole different vibe. It was a whole different understanding. The personal relationship. That person was a marketing person, and I'm not trying to insult marketing people. That particular company was about bottom line, what's the ROI? Had another conversation with another company that's a big company. Again, I was on a call with the president of the owner of the company, and their new marketing. Now, they had been partnered with me for years. We had a absolute great relationship. We get on this call, and the marketing person kept saying, well, what's the ROI? And I said, a podcast does not have a direct ROI. There's no ROI on a podcast. I don't, this is brand awareness. I don't make promises. And the owner of the company is, well, we've had a relationship with them for 2 years, and we've really liked the relationship we've had, and I'd like to keep this. And she kept going back to an ROI. And so I finally said, well, I can't give you a direct ROI. Now, this was a RV dealership that sells high-end RVs, not $20,000 ones, 250,000 plus. And so I said, well, while there's not an ROI, I will tell you that because of the podcast, 6 couples were sent to your sales team because they were interested in an RV. And I felt like saying, "Now, if you close them, that's great for you. If you didn't, that's on your side of it." And she still couldn't get past the idea of an ROI. Now, I could have just shut myself down and said, "Okay, well, this is what the new marketing team is doing. I don't have a chance." And I wasn't desperate, and I wasn't trying to, argue with her, but I just let it be what it was. This is what I've done. This is what, being on the podcast. And finally, he said, well, we still want to be a partner with the podcast. And she finally said, okay, well, if this is one of the only branding, only partnerships that we do, or only advertising that we do that doesn't have an ROI, she said, that's fine. She could not get past it. And the reason I'm telling these stories is I'm finding a lot of that over the last couple of years. And that is going to affect the brands. And the brands are then going to have to come back and say, wait, this isn't working. Because if they don't have the same feel and relationship marketing type, if that's not what's important to them, that changes the company. So again, I think there's going to be a shift. And I say this because somebody who maybe has pitched a brand